Most businesses try to protect themselves by building stronger defenses, but what if the real power move is learning how to break your own system? Ethical hackers don't wait for threats. They hunt them down before anyone else even notices they exist. And that mindset, it might be the most underrated growth strategy in the modern business world. In today's landscape, where competition is ruthless, technology evolves overnight, and vulnerabilities hide in plain sight. The businesses that thrive aren't the ones who simply react to problems. They're the ones who anticipate them. Ethical hackers operate with a mindset built on curiosity, calculated disruption, and relentless testing. And those same principles can transform how you build, secure, and scale your company. In this audiobook, we're diving deep into the unconventional strategies ethical hackers use every day, not just to protect systems, but to strengthen them. You're going to learn how to identify hidden weaknesses, simulate threats before they strike, innovate from the inside out, and build resilience that compounds into long-term growth. This isn't cybersecurity training. It's a blueprint for thinking smarter, moving faster, and staying unshakable in a world full of risks. If you're ready to stop playing defense and start mastering the game from the inside, welcome to the Ethical Hacker's Mindset for Business Growth. Chapter 1. From Defense to Offense, the Hacker's Proactive Edge. Most businesses operate like a medieval castle, build thick walls, install a strong gate, and hope nothing gets through. It's a mindset driven by fear. Fear of loss, fear of unknown threats, fear of being caught unprepared. But ethical hackers? They flip the script entirely. Instead of waiting for a breach, they start with the assumption that one already exists. And that single mental shift from defense to offense is what gives them an unbeatable edge. The failure of traditional defense. For decades, business protection strategies have followed the same formula. Strengthen security measures, implement policies, and react when something breaks. But in a hyper-connected world, that model is outdated. Threats evolve too fast. Technology changes too quickly. And competitors, agile, hungry, and innovative, won't wait for you to catch up. A purely defensive strategy is like plugging holes in a sinking ship while pretending the ocean isn't rising around you. Ethical hackers know that nothing is impenetrable. And the moment you accept that, your entire approach to protecting and scaling a business transforms. Understanding your full attack surface. Most business owners think their vulnerabilities live in a server, a password, or a firewall. But an ethical hacker looks at everything as an entry point. And in business, your attack surface includes your customer service policies, your internal communication patterns, your employees' habits, your supply chain partners, your product weaknesses, your outdated processes, your overconfidence. Any gap, technical or human, is a potential breach point. When you start seeing your business the way a hacker does, you stop assuming you're safe and start asking, if I wanted to break this, where would I start? That's when blind spots begin to reveal themselves. The power of operating proactively. Ethical hackers never wait for damage to happen before taking action. They run simulated attacks, pressure test systems, and expose weaknesses long before anyone else can exploit them. Business leaders who adopt this mindset begin to spot issues before they escalate, strengthen systems from the inside, make smarter, faster decisions, reduce risk by anticipating it, innovate more confidently, build resilience into everything they create. Proactive thinking isn't paranoia, it's strategic clarity. It's the difference between constantly cleaning up messes and staying 10 steps ahead, shifting your culture from defensive to offensive. The biggest transformation doesn't start with tools, it starts with mindset. When your team sees questioning, testing, and challenging assumptions as a strength, not a threat, you unlock a culture that encourages innovation, welcomes feedback, anticipates obstacles, eliminates complacency, values curiosity over comfort. This is what ethical hackers excel at. A culture where breaking things is part of building better things. Your new operating principle. Here's the rule ethical hackers live by, and the rule that will reshape how you grow your business. Assume you are vulnerable. Act like you are unstoppable. Accept that weaknesses exist everywhere. Then operate with the confidence of someone who has already mapped everyone. That combination, humility plus aggression, is the foundation of the ethical hacker's mindset. And in the next chapter, we'll go even deeper into how hackers think, predict weaknesses, and stay one step ahead of threats before they even appear. Chapter 2, The Art of Anticipation, Thinking Like a Threat Actor. If Chapter 1 was about switching from defensive to offensive mode, Chapter 2 is where you learn how ethical hackers actually see the world, not as it appears, but as it can be broken. And trust me, once you understand this thinking pattern, you'll never look at your business the same way again. Ethical hackers have one superpower that separates them from everyone else. They anticipate weaknesses before they exist. This chapter is all about learning that mental blueprint. The hacker's mental shift, curiosity over comfort. Most people look at systems, processes, or products and assume they work because, well, they're supposed to work. Ethical hackers don't make that assumption for a second. Where others see normal, they see gaps, assumptions, exploits, logical flaws, human error, overlooked details. They're professionally curious, and that curiosity is your greatest business weapon. To think like a threat actor, you must train yourself to ask the uncomfortable questions. Where could this break? What would a competitor attack first? If someone wanted to manipulate this process, how would they do it? What assumptions am I blindly trusting? Most business failures happen because leaders avoid asking these questions until it's too late. Red teaming, the ethical hacker's secret weapon. In cybersecurity, red teaming means simulating a real attack to expose weaknesses. But in business, red teaming becomes something even more powerful, challenging your own assumptions before reality does. Imagine having a system where your marketing is attacked from every angle. Your customer journey is stress-tested. Your operations are probed for weak spots. Your pricing is dissected. Your product is examined for its most likely failure points. Not by competitors, not by angry customers, but by you. That's the power of red teaming. A strong leader creates an environment where team members can say, "Here's where this will break," without fear. Understanding your exploit chain. Hackers think in chains, not isolated weaknesses. A single vulnerability rarely destroys a system, but a chain of small, overlooked vulnerabilities that can level a business. An exploit chain in business might look like this. A poorly documented process leads to employee confusion, which leads to inconsistent customer experience, which leads to negative reviews, which leads to lower trust, which impacts revenue, which affects cash flow, which creates pressure that breaks the business. One tiny weakness can cascade into disaster. Ethical hackers always look for the chain, the sequence of events that leads from small crack to catastrophic break. And now, so will you. Predicting weakness before it appears. Threat actors don't wait for problems to show up. They forecast them. Here's how that translates to business. 1. Watch for weak signals. Ethical hackers pay attention to small anomalies. A process that feels clunky, feedback that seems repetitive, a metric that slips slightly, a task everyone avoids, something that works, but only if nothing goes wrong. These are the signals that trouble is brewing. 2. Question the default settings. Hackers never trust defaults, not in software and not in business. Ask, why do we do it this way? Who decided this? What was the logic behind it? Is this still the best approach? Most business vulnerabilities hide behind, "This is how we've always done it." 3. Stress test the outliers. Great hackers don't test the system in normal conditions. They test extremes. In business, that means asking, what if 10 times more customers showed up? What if a key employee left tomorrow? What if our supplier doubled prices overnight? What if demand suddenly dropped? Weakness reveals itself at the edges. Spotting neglected risk areas. Most leaders monitor the obvious risks. Ethical hackers monitor the invisible ones. Hidden vulnerabilities often live in employee behavior, human error, outdated tech, poor documentation, overdependence on one channel, third-party partners, customer onboarding cracks, hidden friction points, assumptions no one challenges. When you adopt the hacker's mindset, you start seeing risk the way they do, in the unnoticed, unsexy corners of your business. Why ethical hackers make better innovators. Here's the twist. People think hackers are destructive, but the best ethical hackers are actually master innovators. Why? Because to break something, you must understand it deeply. To fix something, you must imagine a better version. And to fortify something, you must design beyond current limitations. Ethical hackers see the weaknesses, imagine new possibilities, build more resilient systems, innovate through insight, not guesswork. This mindset doesn't just protect your business, it propels it. Your framework going forward. To think like a threat actor, ask yourself daily, if I want to take advantage of my own business, how would I do it? This isn't negativity, it's strategic awareness. And it's the difference between leaders who survive and leaders who dominate. Chapter 3. Exploiting weaknesses for strength. The vulnerability-driven mindset. If Chapter 2 taught you to see vulnerabilities, Chapter 3 teaches you what ethical hackers do next. And this is where their brilliance becomes obvious. Because hackers don't stop at identifying weaknesses. They exploit them, not to destroy, not to embarrass, but to learn, to improve, and to evolve a system into something far stronger than it was before. In business, this mindset is nothing short of superpower. The paradox of vulnerability. Most business owners fear vulnerabilities. Hackers run toward them. Why? Because vulnerabilities reveal the truth. Weaknesses show where your processes are inefficient, where customers are frustrated, where money is being lost, where systems are outdated, where talent is underutilized, where competitors can attack, where growth is being choked. When you adopt the hacker's mindset, you stop hiding from flaws and start using them as maps. Your vulnerabilities are signals, not threats, turning weak spots into strategic opportunities. Ethical hackers exploit weaknesses to discover how a system behaves under pressure. Business leaders must do the same. 1. A weakness reveals what you actually need. If your customer service breaks anytime volume increases, the problem isn't too many customers. The problem is scalable systems, automation gaps, unclear processes, poor onboarding, weak training. The vulnerability exposes what must be built for future growth. 2. A weakness shows where you're over-leveraged. Many businesses depend too heavily on one employee, one product, one supplier, one marketing channel, one revenue stream. This is exactly the type of single point of failure hackers target. When you find it first, you can diversify and strengthen before reality forces your hand. 3. A weakness uncovers hidden opportunities. Sometimes a flaw is the birthplace of innovation. For example, customer complaints reveal what feature to build next. Failed ads reveal what messaging your audience actually cares about. High refund rates reveal what expectations aren't being met. Operational bottlenecks reveal where automation will save the most time. Weakness isn't the enemy. Ignorance is. The pre-mortem approach. Hack the failure before it happens. Ethical hackers love a methodology called pre-mortem, imagining a system has already failed and working backward to find the cause. It's the opposite of a post-mortem and 10 times more valuable. Here's how to use it in business. Step 1. Imagine your business completely collapsed. Step 2. List every possible reason why. Step 3. Treat those reasons as your attack plan. Step 4. Fortify each weak point proactively. A few examples. We depended on one social media platform for traffic. We didn't update our tech stack for years. We underinvested in customer retention. We ignored competitor innovation. We ran on manual processes too long. Once you identify those vulnerabilities, you eliminate them before they become fatal. That's how ethical hackers build resilience, by simulating disaster before it arrives. Weakness as an innovation engine. Hackers innovate because they dissect weaknesses. When you reverse engineer flaws, you don't just fix problems, you uncover new pathways. Think like this. If onboarding is confusing, that means there's room for a streamlined, premium experience. If customers complain about slow response, that's a sign you can differentiate with rapid support. If employees make frequent mistakes, your systems need clearer SOPs or automation. If marketing isn't converting, your messaging doesn't align with your audience's core psychology. Every vulnerability whispers a solution, and every solution holds a competitive advantage. Build your vulnerability map. Ethical hackers document every flaw they find. You need the same discipline. Create a vulnerability map, listing operational weak points, customer experience friction, technological limitations, team skill gaps, process inefficiencies, market threats, compliance issues, data blind spots. Then assign each. Severity, probability, business impact, solution steps, owner of the fix. This turns emotional panic into strategic clarity. Most businesses collapse from weaknesses they never tracked. Yours won't. The courage to exploit yourself. This is the defining difference between good leaders and great ones. Most leaders want to look strong. Elite leaders want to be strong. Being strong requires honesty. It requires looking your business in the eye and saying, where can this break? How can I exploit it to make it unbreakable? When you master this mindset, problems become insights. Failures become data. Weaknesses become strategies. Vulnerabilities become growth engines. Your business becomes inherently harder to disrupt. That's the hacker's gift. Chapter 4. Fortifying your future, building protective innovation. Most businesses think innovation is about shiny features, market trends, or being first. Ethical hackers see innovation differently. It's about designing systems that stay unbreakable even when the world throws its worst at them. In this chapter, we dive into how the hacker's mindset can elevate your business from simply functioning to being inherently resilient and future-proof. 1. The shift from fixing problems to engineering resilience. Traditional companies approach problems like leaky pipes, patch them up fast, and move on. Ethical hackers approach problems like structural engineers, figure out why the pipe leaked, what else could leak next, and how to redesign the entire system so the problem never appears again. This shift is the core of protective innovation. Instead of reacting to failures, anticipate them. Instead of waiting for threats, hunt for them. Instead of hoping your system holds, design it to thrive under pressure. Ethical hackers don't innovate for convenience. They innovate for survival and strength. And that mindset is exactly what growing businesses need. 2. Making security a culture, not a checklist. For ethical hackers, security isn't a feature, it's the air they breathe. Businesses often bolt security on like an afterthought. Protective innovation demands a cultural shift. Security becomes everyone's job, not just the IT team, not just an annual audit, not just a compliance requirement. Everyone from the intern to the CEO must understand how their actions affect the company's attack surface, why vulnerabilities exist, how to reduce risk through everyday behavior. Even small habits, weak passwords, poor documentation, sloppy communication can create openings that derail growth. A resilient business builds a culture where people report problems instead of hiding them. Teams constantly test their own systems, Feedback loops exist between departments. Security isn't viewed as a restriction, but a competitive advantage. This is how companies evolve from fragile to unshakable. 3. The ethical hacker approach to product development. Most companies create products by following their competitors or focusing on customer trends. Hacker-minded companies create products by analyzing where the world is vulnerable, where current solutions break, where emerging threats could open new opportunities. This leads to products that aren't just useful, they're bulletproof. Example, hacker-inspired development questions. What failure points will this product have in real-world use? If someone wanted to break or misuse this feature, how would they do it? What unintended consequences does this design create? What safeguards can we build in from the start? Instead of reacting to customer complaints, you eliminate issues before anyone even notices them. That's the essence of hacker-driven innovation. Build strong from the inside out. 4. Designing systems that fail safely. Ethical hackers know that no system can be 100% secure, but they also know that not all failures are equal. A smart failure contains damage, protects core assets, preserves customer trust, provides insight for improvement, prevents cascade effects. A fragile failure spreads chaos fast, leads to downtime or public embarrassment, exposes sensitive data, crashes multiple systems, causes financial loss. Resilient businesses design with safe failure in mind. Redundant processes, backup pathways, rate limits, failover systems, monitoring that alerts before disaster hits. Ethical hackers constantly break systems, not to destroy them, but to ensure when something breaks, it doesn't break everything. 5. Turning every insight into future armor. Protective innovation means every mistake, every near miss, every glitch becomes a blueprint, a lesson, a warning, and an opportunity for improvement. Ethical hackers call this continuous hardening, the process of strengthening systems endlessly, never settling, never assuming you're secure enough. For a business, this means running postmortems, even if nothing catastrophic happened, updating processes regularly, anticipating new threats linked to emerging technologies, treating innovation like fitness, consistent, disciplined, and ongoing. This steady evolution becomes your shield, your strategy, and your pathway to growth. 6. Protective innovation as a growth engine. Here's the twist most businesses overlook. The companies that survive the longest are the ones built to withstand the most. Protective innovation isn't just defensive. It fuels confidence. It attracts customers who trust stability. It builds products that outperform competitors. It creates systems that scale without collapsing. It positions your brand as reliable and future-ready. Ethical hackers don't innovate to avoid disaster. They innovate to unlock new levels of potential. And that's exactly what makes their mindset so valuable for business growth. Chapter 5. Fortifying Your Future. Building Protective Innovation. Protective innovation isn't about fear-driven decision-making or obsessively trying to stop every possible failure. It's about designing your business in a way that makes resilience the default and weakness the exception. Ethical hackers don't just find problems. They use them as a map to build stronger systems. This chapter shows you how to use that same mindset to shape a business that's not just growing, but built to last. The shift from patchwork fixes to systemic strength. Most businesses only strengthen something after it breaks. A crisis hits, everyone panics, quick fixes get slapped on, and the cycle repeats. Ethical hackers take the opposite route. They assume weaknesses exist. They dig to understand them. They build solutions that prevent future breakdowns. Protective innovation means designing systems that don't rely on luck or hope. They rely on clarity, structure, and continuous improvement, embedding continuous security assessment into daily operations. Ethical hackers never assume a system is secure just because it worked yesterday. They retest, recheck, and reevaluate constantly. For a business, this looks like regularly reviewing operational workflows, not only digital systems. Conducting vulnerability scans on customer service processes, communication chains, or product delivery methods. Checking for single points of failure, places where one mistake or one missing person collapses the entire operation. This turns security and improvement into a habit, not a reaction. Using ethical hacking principles to fuel product development. Some of the strongest products in the world were built by intentionally trying to break them first. Ethical hacker-inspired product creation asks questions like, how could someone misuse this? Where could this fail in the real world? What happens if this is pushed to its limits? This mindset pulls hidden flaws into the light long before customers experience them. Meaning when the product finally hits the market, it's not fragile. It's battle-ready, designing for resilience, making your business harder to disrupt. Resilience is the superpower that turns ordinary companies into long-term competitors. Ethical hackers build resilience by exploring the worst-case scenarios before they happen. Here's how that translates for you. 1. Redundancy. Not everything, just the essentials. You create backup workflows, backup suppliers, backup communication lines so that one missing piece doesn't freeze progress. 2. Controlled stress testing. Ethical hackers simulate attacks. Businesses can simulate disruptions. What if one department shuts down for a day? What if your best-selling product becomes unavailable for 2 weeks? What if your systems slow down under high demand? You learn more from those simulations than from any good week. 3. Clear protocols. Hackers thrive on chaos, so preparation removes their advantage. Businesses thrive when everyone knows exactly what to do in unexpected moments. You create templates, guidelines, and clear processes for rare but high-impact events, building a culture that loves adaptation. Ethical hackers don't fear change. They thrive in it. That attitude becomes a massive competitive advantage when adopted by a business. A hacker-minded culture encourages curiosity instead of blaming mistakes, rewards early identification of risk instead of ignoring it, treats criticism as fuel instead of as an attack, values speed, experimentation, and transparency. This culture becomes the backbone of protective innovation. When your team is comfortable with change, the business becomes unstoppable, turning risk into consistent growth. You're not just protecting your business from threats, you're building a system that evolves faster than the threats themselves. That's the heart of protective innovation. Today's vulnerability becomes tomorrow's competitive advantage. A potential weakness becomes a new product idea. A previously hidden inefficiency becomes a streamlined system. In the ethical hacker's mindset, everything becomes data, and data becomes power. Why hard to disrupt means ready to grow. A fragile business can grow fast, but it can collapse faster. A resilient business doesn't just survive, it expands with confidence. When you build protective innovation into your foundation, you make smarter long-term decisions. You reduce wasted money and time. You handle shocks better than competitors. You become the business customers trust most. This is how ethical hacking principles evolve from defense to strategy to growth. Chapter 6. Growth through Resilience. The Hacker's Blueprint for Business Triumph. In the world of ethical hacking, resilience isn't optional. It's the whole game. Hackers know that every system, no matter how polished, contains weak points. But instead of ignoring them or hoping they never cause trouble, they treat those weak points as opportunities, places that can be strengthened, redesigned, or transformed into a strategic advantage. This chapter shows you how to bring that same mindset into your business. Because the truth is simple. The companies that dominate aren't the ones with the fewest problems. They're the ones that respond to problems the fastest and smartest. The power of anticipation, winning before the battle begins. Ethical hackers win by preparing long before threats appear. They obsess over what could go wrong, not because they're paranoid, but because they understand reality. Markets shift. Technology evolves. Competitors adapt. Customer needs change. Resilience is built when you stop assuming that tomorrow will look like today. For business, anticipation looks like reviewing your most profitable processes and stress testing them, updating outdated systems before they break, watching competitors' weaknesses as closely as your own, experimenting regularly instead of reacting occasionally. This isn't fear, it's foresight, adaptive thinking, your hidden competitive advantage. Ethical hackers don't stick to one way of thinking. They shift perspectives constantly. One moment they think like a user, then like an attacker, then like an engineer. This ability to mentally switch seats gives them a massive edge. For businesses, adaptive thinking means seeing a failing product not as the end, but as feedback, viewing customer complaints as real-time diagnostics, treating market disruptions as signals instead of threats. When your mindset is flexible, your business becomes flexible, and flexibility is the currency of survival. Turning setbacks into strength, the ethical hacker way. To an ethical hacker, a discovered vulnerability isn't embarrassing, it's a victory. It's proof that the system is still testable, fixable, and improvable. Imagine if businesses adopted that attitude. A slow sales month becomes an analysis opportunity. A broken workflow becomes a redesign moment. A failed campaign becomes a data-rich lesson. In this mindset, you're not defined by setbacks. You're refined by them. The blueprint. How hackers convert weak points into growth engines. Here's the process broken into simple steps you can apply instantly. 1. Identify the weakness early. Don't wait for customers, finances, or the market to expose it. Proactive scanning, weekly or monthly, catches problems before they spread. 2. Trace it back to the source. A glitch isn't just a glitch. A slow response isn't just slow. There's always a cause. Follow the trail like a hacker would, down to the root. 3. Redesign the system, not just the moment. Most companies fix symptoms. Resilient companies fix the underlying structure. 4. Test the new solution aggressively. Hackers don't trust a fix until they break it twice. In business, this means small-scale tests, simulated scenarios, and feedback loops. 5. Deploy improvements fast. The faster you adapt, the less your competitors can copy. Speed becomes a growth multiplier. The hidden benefit, team confidence explodes. A business that handles problems with clarity and calmness builds a team that trusts the mission. When people see setbacks handled intelligently, risks openly discussed, failures treated as data, improvements made quickly, they relax into the work, and confident teams innovate far more than fearful ones. Resilience doesn't just protect your business. It energizes the people inside it. Resilience equals stability plus adaptation plus speed. When you combine these three forces, your company becomes something rare. Hard to break, quick to evolve, easy to trust. That's the ultimate competitive advantage. Your business stops reacting to the world and starts shaping it. The long-term play, becoming disruption-proof. You're not just building for next month or next quarter. You're building for next decade. An ethical hacker-style resilience gives you that long-term edge. You're never blindsided. You adapt faster than competitors. You innovate from a place of strength. You're always ahead of the next threat. Your foundation deepens as your influence grows. This is how great companies survive waves that sink everyone else. The hacker mindset doesn't just protect businesses. It transforms them into industry-shaping forces. Chapter 7. The Art of Anticipation. Predicting threats before they strike. Most businesses live in reaction mode. They wait for sales to drop before changing strategy. They wait for a system failure before upgrading tools. They wait for a crisis before creating a plan. Ethical hackers? They do the exact opposite. Their entire survival depends on predicting threats before they become disasters. Understanding how they anticipate danger gives you one of the greatest hidden advantages in business: the ability to act early, move fast, and stay unshakable no matter what comes next. Let's break down how ethical hackers anticipate danger and how you can bring this mindset into your company. Seeing what others miss. The threat actor mindset. Threat actors, malicious hackers, don't attack randomly. They look for outdated systems, untrained staff, weak processes, gaps in logic, predictable behavior. Ethical hackers study these patterns not to imitate them, but to understand how vulnerabilities look from the outside. In business, thinking like a threat actor means asking, where are customers most frustrated? What part of our system breaks under pressure? What processes have we ignored for too long? What assumptions are we making about our market? Who or what could exploit our weaknesses? Most companies skip this thinking. That's why they get blindsided. You won't. Red teaming. Stress testing your business the hacker way. In cybersecurity, a red team simulates an attack to expose weaknesses. They don't wait for something to go wrong. They force the system to reveal its blind spots. Imagine applying this idea to your business. Examples of business red teaming. Running a fake crisis drill to see how your team reacts. Testing what happens if your top supplier suddenly fails. Stress testing your customer support with high-volume simulations. Challenging each department to break each other's assumptions. Reviewing your marketing funnel as if you were a competitor trying to destroy it. This approach reveals the cracks long before reality does. Most businesses only discover weaknesses when customers complain or profits fall. You discover them while everything still looks fine on the surface. That's real power. Mapping the attack surface of your business. Hackers analyze every possible entry point into a system, called the attack surface. Businesses have attack surfaces too, but they're not just technical. Here are the main ones. Speech balloon 1. Human behavior. Employee mistakes, miscommunication, lack of training. Most business failures start with people, not software. Laptop computer 2. Technology gaps. Old software, poor data organization, lack of automation. Not always visible, but always dangerous. Link 3. Supply chain weaknesses. That one vendor you rely on? That single source of raw material? Yeah, that's a vulnerability. Megaphone 4. Reputation and public perception. One bad customer experience can turn into a viral complaint. Your brand is always exposed. Chart increasing 5. Market dynamics. Changing trends, competitors adapting, economics shifting. If you don't anticipate change, you get left behind. When you map these surfaces, you begin to see your business the way a threat sees it, and the way a future opportunity might appear. Finding the invisible risks most leaders ignore. Threat actors attack what's overlooked, not what's obvious. In business, the invisible risks are often the most damaging. A superstar employee who holds too much undocumented knowledge. A product that's profitable now, but impossible to scale. A process that works well only because the market is stable. A marketing strategy that's too dependent on one platform. A customer base that slowly stops engaging, but doesn't say why. Ethical hackers excel at spotting what others don't notice. You can too, if you train your mind to question everything that feels fine. The early warning system, detecting red flags before they turn into fires. Hackers use monitoring tools to track unusual activity. Businesses need similar tools, but for performance, people, and operations. Your business early warning system includes tracking tiny drops in customer satisfaction, watching slight increases in delivery delays, noticing small dips in team morale, paying attention to rising competitor activity, spotting early changes in industry trends. Early signs are quiet. Only disciplined minds hear them. When you catch problems early, they're small, cheap, and easy to fix. When you ignore them, they grow teeth. Scenario planning, the ethical hacker version. Hackers run multiple what-if scenarios before acting. What if the firewall blocks us? What if the system patches mid-attack? What if we get detected? Businesses rarely do this, but they should. Your business needs at least 5 scenarios. What if your best-performing product suddenly fails? What if a competitor releases a similar version at half the price? What if a recession hits your market segment? What if customer behavior shifts drastically? What if your team structure becomes outdated? Planning for these doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you unstoppable. Why anticipation drives growth, not just safety. People assume anticipation is about protection. But ethical hackers know anticipation is also a growth tool. When you predict future problems, you also discover future opportunities. New customer needs, new product ideas, new systems to build, new markets to enter, new technologies to adopt. Anticipation removes fear and replaces it with clarity. And clarity drives momentum. The real prize, becoming impossible to surprise. When you truly adopt the hacker's anticipation mindset, crises feel manageable. Setbacks hit softer. Opportunities appear faster. Competitors look slower. And your business operates with calm confidence. Most companies get punched in the face by the unexpected. Yours starts to expect the punch and dodge before it even lands. That's the difference between surviving and dominating. Chapter 8. Exploiting weaknesses for strength. Turning vulnerabilities into growth engines. Most people hear the word vulnerability and immediately think something to hide, something dangerous, something that needs fixing fast. Ethical hackers hear the same word and think a hidden opportunity, a map, a breakthrough waiting to be engineered. The difference? Traditional thinkers try to eliminate weaknesses. Hackers leverage them. And when you bring that mindset into business, something wild happens. Your weaknesses stop being threats and start becoming your competitive edge. Let's break that transformation down. Seeing vulnerabilities as data, not danger. When ethical hackers find a vulnerability, they don't panic. They get excited because every vulnerability is a clue. It tells them where the system is fragile, where the assumptions are wrong, where the architecture is outdated, where shortcuts were taken, where they can gain leverage. In business, this same mentality is gold. You stop taking weaknesses personally. You stop ignoring them out of fear. You stop pretending they don't exist. Instead, you start studying them like a scientist. Why is this happening? What does it reveal about us? What is it teaching us about the market? That shift is the beginning of resilience and the birth of innovation. The pre-mortem method, fail before you fail. Ethical hackers often run pre-attacks to see where something would break. You can do the same for your business through pre-mortem. Instead of asking, what went wrong? You ask, what will go wrong? How a business pre-mortem works. Imagine your business has completely collapsed. Describe why in brutal detail. Trace each cause back to today. Identify the early warning signs you might already be ignoring. Build solutions before the failure arrives. Suddenly, your blind spots stop being blind. You start operating like a strategist, not a firefighter. Flipping weakness into strength, the ethical hacker blueprint. Hackers take vulnerabilities and turn them into powerful entry points. In business, you can transform weaknesses into differentiators. Here's how. 1. Identify your weakest process, then reinvent it. Every company has one process that annoys everyone. Slow onboarding, messy communication, unclear pricing, outdated logistics. Fixing it is good. Rebuilding it to be industry-leading? That's game-changing. A weakness becomes a selling point. 2. Turn customer complaints into product development fuel. Complaints aren't attacks, they're data streams. Each one is a vulnerability report from the real world. Ethical hackers love free vulnerability reports. You should too. 3. Leverage limited resources as innovation triggers. Some of the best innovations in history came from constraint, not abundance. When you lack budget, team size, time, tools, you're forced to think differently. That's how breakthroughs are born. 4. Transform internal failures into cultural strength. When something breaks internally, don't bury it. Study it. Improve it. Share the lesson openly. Companies that embrace their mistakes evolve faster than the ones that hide them. Hackers know this truth well. You cannot fix what you refuse to examine. The hidden gold in market weaknesses. Ethical hackers often look for weaknesses not just in systems, but in the environment around them. You can do the same with your market. Weakness number 1. Competitors moving slowly. Advantage: you innovate faster. Weakness number 2. Customer frustrations nobody is solving. Advantage: you become the preferred solution. Weakness number 3. Old business models refusing to adapt. Advantage: you build the new model. Weakness number 4. Gaps in technology adoption. Advantage: you modernize sooner. Every overlooked pain point in your industry is a vulnerability waiting for someone to exploit it ethically and intelligently. Why not you? The power of testing, breaking, and rebuilding. Ethical hackers live by one rule. If it can break, it will break. So they break it first, on purpose. This mindset is a superpower for business. Here's how to apply it. Break your onboarding process with stress tests. Break your marketing funnel with traffic surges. Break your internal workflows with simulations. Break your assumptions with customer surveys. Break your strategy with external audits. When you break your own system, you reveal the truth. And when you reveal the truth, you can rebuild stronger than ever. Engineering resilience from the inside out. Resilience isn't something you add. It's something you engineer. Hackers create resilient systems by solving weaknesses at their root, not patching them temporarily. Businesses should do the same. Remove unnecessary complexity. Automate repetitive tasks. Document internal knowledge. Cross-train team members. Build redundancy into critical systems. This is how resilience becomes structural, not accidental. The ultimate mindset shift. Weakness is not equal to failure. The world teaches us to hide our weaknesses. Ethical hackers teach us to study them. The world teaches us to fear vulnerabilities. Ethical hackers teach us to exploit them for strength. When you adopt this mindset, your entire business changes shape. You stop being fragile. You stop being scared of the unknown. You stop being held hostage by what if. Instead, you become a builder, a strategist, a protector, a creator. Your weaknesses transform from liabilities into leverage. Your business transforms from reactive into unstoppable. Chapter 9. Fortifying your future. Engineering protective innovation. Most businesses innovate only when they're forced to. Ethical hackers innovate because not innovating is the biggest vulnerability of all. And that's the difference. One group waits for a threat. The other stays ahead of it. In this chapter, we explore how the hacker mindset helps you build systems, products, and strategies that are inherently harder to disrupt. Not just today, but years from now. This is how you future-proof your business. Why protective innovation matters more than ever. Modern threats evolve fast. Tech evolves faster. And human behavior evolves even faster. That means your competitors can copy you. New market entrants can undercut you. Trends can shift overnight. Customer expectations can spike instantly. Technology can make your product obsolete in a year. So protecting your business isn't just about security. It's about adaptability. Ethical hackers excel at adaptability because their job demands it. Threats mutate. Systems change. New exploits appear daily. This forces hackers to adopt a mindset you can borrow. Constant evolution is not optional. It's survival. Building a culture of continuous assessment. Businesses often avoid looking too closely at their flaws because it's uncomfortable. Ethical hackers do the opposite. They run toward the discomfort. To fortify your future, Your culture must normalize. Asking, where are we weak? Testing assumptions regularly. Challenging existing systems. Treating feedback as intelligence. Analyzing failures without shame. This culture doesn't appear accidentally. You design it. Simple ways to embed this culture. Monthly system stress tests. Quarterly risk reviews. Anonymous internal feedback channels. Regular customer friction reports. Team hackathons to improve internal tools. An organization that audits itself grows faster and breaks less. Product development, the hacker way. Most businesses build for functionality. Ethical hackers build for resilience. And that mindset shift can transform your products or services. Step 1. Identify failure scenarios. Ask, how could this break? Not metaphorically, literally. Step 2. Build countermeasures into the design. A strong product is one that protects itself. Step 3. Stress test the product before release. Not to check if it works, to test how it fails. Step 4. Continually refine based on real-world usage. Innovation isn't a launch event. It's a continuous loop. This methodology reduces customer friction and increases long-term loyalty because your product feels reliable, sturdy, and consistently improving. Designing business models that are hard to disrupt. Ethical hackers see the world in layers. The surface, the system, the infrastructure, the hidden mechanics. Business models have layers too. If you're only focused on your product, you're fragile. If you're only focused on price, you're replaceable. If you're only focused on marketing, you're temporary. Protective innovation means building multiple layers of strength. Layer 1. Value layer. A product or service people genuinely need. Layer 2. Experience layer. A journey that feels intuitive and effortless. Layer 3. Trust layer. Predictability, transparency, and consistency. Layer 4. Ecosystem layer. Other services, tools, or experiences that surround your core offering. Layer 5. Relationship layer. The true unfair advantage, loyalty, community, connection. When you reinforce each layer, competitors can't attack your business from a single angle. Because your strength isn't just what you sell, it's the infrastructure around it. Embedding resilience into operations. Ethical hackers design systems that expect chaos. You should do the same. Operational resilience looks like documentation for every critical process, cross-training team members, automation for repetitive tasks, backup systems for essential data, diversified marketing channels, diversified revenue streams. Each of these reduces dependency and vulnerability. The more you reduce single points of failure, the stronger your future becomes. Innovation as a daily habit, not a rare event. Most companies innovate once a year at a strategy meeting. Hackers innovate every single day. Innovation becomes powerful when it becomes a habit. Daily micro-innovations can include fixing a tiny inefficiency, removing one unnecessary step from a workflow, simplifying a customer touchpoint, automating a 2-minute task, asking, how can this be 10% better today? Small improvements, done consistently, lead to massive structural evolution. This is how you stay ahead instead of playing catch-up. The ethical hacker's advantage. Thinking forward, not backward. Traditional businesses protect what they already built. Hackers think about what hasn't been built yet. This gives you a huge strategic advantage when applied to business. Ask yourself regularly, what upcoming trend could disrupt us? What customer demands will rise next year? What technology shift could make our process obsolete? What new competitor could enter the market? What blind spot are we ignoring today? Every answer gives you insight into how to evolve before you must. That's the mindset that creates empires instead of short-lived wins. Fortifying your future isn't about fear, it's about power. A lot of businesses prepare for the future by reacting to threats. Ethical hackers prepare by understanding them. Not to panic, not to hide, but to build better. to innovate with confidence, to grow with clarity, to move with strategic intelligence. When you think like a hacker, your future stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you build intentionally, intelligently, and with unshakable resilience.